Today on the RepubliKen Talk Show, we're going to be talking about the election that Jamal Bowman just lost. We're going to be talking about this new database that tracks the Bidenvasion crime wave. And we're going to be talking about Trump's confirmed VP, or pretty much confirmed vice president, and more on this episode of RepubliKen Talks. Welcome to the Talk Show, everybody. I am your host, Kenneth Glenn, and today we got a lot of news for you today. So, first off, I want to get this off the list. First and foremost, so Trump's VP, which this is shocking. So Trump's VP is pretty much 100% confirmed. We know who it is now. It's 100%. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. So if you saw my video a few months ago, I made a video ranking the potential vice president options. I made a video ranking all of the potential picks for vice president and who is the best option. And like I said, that was a few months ago, so obviously information has changed since then. And originally I had Doug Burgum at the number 5 spot on the list. He's great. He has a huge approval rating in the state of North Dakota, or one of the Dakotas. I forgot which Dakota it was where he served. But, yeah, he had a huge approval rating. Everyone loved him. He fixed a lot of issues, diversified the economy. He helped with addiction issues and stuff like that. So he's a great option for Trump. And I even said that. I said, however, I said in the same video that my only problem with Doug Burgum is that he was white and that he's not a good pick for diversity, which is important for some reason in this current modern climate. It's important to have diversity, which I personally think is stupid, but that's just how it is now with our current climate. You need diversity if you want to win elections. So, anyway, so who did Trump pick? Well, obviously, I mentioned it earlier, Doug Burgum. He picked him. And how do we know this? Trump didn't confirm this yet. However, if you go on Trump's website and you look up TrumpBurgum.com, it sends you all the way to DonaldTrump.com. It sends you to his campaign. It sends you right to his campaign website. So this is super neat. Okay, why is this? Does this confirm it? Well, yes, because if you do it for any other candidate, okay, if you do it for Marco Rubio, who I personally had at the number 1 spot, if you have it for Tim Scott, who I also had high up on the list, any of them, any of the people on the list, Ben Carson, any of those guys, if you were to look up Trump Carson or Trump Rubio or Trump Scott, none of those pop up. However, if you do Trump Burgum, it pops up Trump.com. So we pretty much just confirmed that Trump is running with Burgum. Now, what does this mean? Well, first off, it means that he's pretty much going to win the North and maybe even South Dakota because of his massive approval rating in the election. And if I remember correctly, that was one of the swing states. So he's basically confirmed himself a win in one of the swing states. And he's got a really good running partner, if that's the case, super based. He's picked up a lot of popularity in the last few weeks and months since I've made that video. Since I've made that video, I swear he's gotten more popular by the day. Now, I know most people wanted Vivek Ramaswamy to be the vice president. I even said that. I was like, I'd really like it if he was vice president. But Trump never even considered him as a vice president spot. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand that. And I've tried to say that many times, but I guess it just doesn't stick. But yeah, I was hoping it would be him. But Trump doesn't want to pick Vivek. He's gonna save Vivek for a cabinet spot. But yeah, this is gonna be a great pick because right now with our current country, there are many cities with huge drug problems. I saw a video today. There was a girl wearing a bikini in a gas station, just walking around in like a bikini top and a G-string bottom. And that was it. And she was just like walking around barefoot and stuff. And she was just like tweaking. And then like the guy walks out of the gas station and there's another person tweaking right outside the gas station. Then he walks down the road a little further and there's this guy on all fours just rocking. And it's just like there's a huge drug problem in our country. Philadelphia, we got LA. Just so many drug problems in this country. So if we can get Doug Burgum and Trump running together, that's actually a very smart pick. However, I don't think it's going to help him win people over to his side as much because people aren't logical. Okay, people who vote are mostly stupid. And I know it sounds mean, but it's true. Most people who vote are stupid people. Majority of them are stupid. They don't know much about politics. They couldn't even name policies and how they'd affect the country. And they wouldn't even be able to, most of them wouldn't even be able to pass a simple test on American politics. But they still vote anyway. So, even though he's a better pick, people are still not going to care because he's not a diversity pick. Because that's the big thing now. We need diversity because, whatever reason, whatever we need diversity. We need black guys to fly airplanes, and if you don't hire black people to fly airplanes, you're racist now. Just ridiculous. But anyway, I thought I'd just mention that it's a great pick if that is who he picked. Like I said, this is not necessarily confirmed. It's basically confirmed, but it's not 100%. He maybe Trump's pranking us. Maybe Trump's like doing a bait and switch on us. But no, this is interesting. I know why Trump probably did this. Trump probably put the site up just so he got the domain for it before someone else did. Because he probably wanted the domain for it before he made the selection. And that's what happened here. But yeah, like I said, if you name any other vice president option that Trump has, none of them direct them to the website. It's just Doug Burgum. TrumpBurgum.com. You can look it up for yourself. It directs you right to Trump's website. So, the Trump's VP has been confirmed. It's just kind of crazy. He wasn't very high on my list, but I really like Doug, so I have no problem with it. It's a great pick. Also, check out my video on that. Check out my ranking video on that, on the VPs. It's a good video. Got a lot of views. And you'll learn a lot about the VPs in that video. All right, moving on. So, the Daily Wire recently posted this. So there's a massive public database tracking the Bidenvasion crime wave. So for those of you who don't know, illegal immigration is through the roof. People are just jumping the border like Mario. Oh boy, I'm going to get canceled for that one. Anyway, they're jumping the border. They're coming over here. Well, you can't even really jump the border. There is nothing there. It's just an invisible line, Anyway, there's been a crime wave now. There's been multiple like rapes and murders and a ton of stuff like that because of the Bidenvasion of illegal immigrants and the lack of border security. So, a database detailing thousands of crimes committed by illegal aliens launched Monday, and it's called illegalaliencrimes.com. So you can look that up for yourself. illegalaliencrimes.com. So check that site out. You can look at it yourself. We'll actually look at it live on the show right now. So, it shows, just so you know, if you got the right site, it shows a picture of the United States, and many of the maps are covered in red. Let's say, I'm just going to click on my state real quick, New York. And I'm guessing the red is where crimes are getting committed. Here, let's click this. So yeah, there's the red, which is where the crimes are being committed. And then there's the black, which means there's no crime being committed. So yeah, there's not much to the site, but basically it's tracking the different crimes that these illegal immigrants, where they're committing these crimes and what they've committed. So moving on, we're going back to the article now. So the illegalaliencrimes.com shows viewers a map that lets them zoom in on their community to see crimes there. So you can now look into certain locations and see if crimes are being committed in your local area. Drawing from local news reports, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, so the ICE, and open records request. The federal government's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is ICE, reports more than 70,000 illegal immigrants were taken into custody by its enforcement and removal operations in fiscal year 2023 because they had criminal convictions or pending charges in the U.S. So this is a big problem. And the other big problem with the illegal immigration is that it's not just like Mexicans coming over to the border. It's not even just Mexicans. It's not just Mexican. There's people from India, Iraq, Afghanistan, Palestine. People all over the world are coming over here, which is scary. In addition to 100,000 who arrested for breaking immigration laws such as overstaying visas and being wanted criminals in other countries. Which, here's the messed up thing. You want to hear something messed up? I like to talk good about Trump, but one thing that he's doing that's pretty stupid, he is allowing illegal immigrants to stay in this country if they get a college degree. A college degree will come with a green card, which is just not that's not a good thing. Because let's be real. They're going to college. They're getting indoctrinated by the garbage college institutions ran by China and the Islamic State. They're running into colleges ran by these special interests of these foreign agencies and stuff like that. These garbage woke colleges. And then we're going to hand you a green card along with it. Like, does anyone not see what's wrong with this? For more information on what I'm talking about with the China special interests running colleges, you need to read Charlie Kirk's College Scam. There's more information on that in that book. You really need to read it. I'm going to reread it at some point this year too, along with his new book coming out. But let's not get sidetracked too much here. But the details are often concealed from the public. So a lot of the details of these people's crimes are being concealed. They're not being talked about very often. Even in high-profile crimes, news outlets often omit the offender's immigration status. They usually just ignore it. It's kind of like when a black guy does a mass shooting and then no one talks about it. Literally nobody will talk about it. Like all the Juneteenth shootings and other mass shootings happening in the country. Mostly done by black people, but none of the news reports on it unless a white person does it. Last week, the Associated Press wrote a story on the killing of a 12-year-old girl in Texas, without ever noting the suspects are two men from Venezuela who entered the country illegally. So we have the Venezuela. We have two immigrants from Venezuela who killed a 12-year-old girl, and the news doesn't report this because it's not part of the agenda. It's not part of the globalist agenda. You know what I mean? They don't want people knowing that this is what illegal immigrants are doing, because if the public were aware of this is what illegal immigrants are doing, then people would be against illegal immigration. But that's exactly what they don't want. Even most kids, most children, are pro-illegal immigration. Because they're, oh, but they live in a bad country, we need to let them in, and we need to... Because kids are innocent. Kids have an innocent mindset. Kids like to help. But kids also don't know the heartless, brutal side of the world. So that's why they have so much sympathy. But if this stuff was brought up more publicly, we would have a more realistic viewpoint on how we should respond to things like this. So the illegal immigrants from Venezuela were apprehended by ICE and were knowingly released into the interior of the country by Biden's administration. So these guys were arrested at first, and then Biden's administration freed them, basically, causing this. So, good job, guys. Thanks for voting. I hope your feelings not being hurt was worth a 12-year-old's life, you morons. Oh, but his tweets hurt my feelings. Yeah, now people are dying. More than ever. Because you guys got your feelings hurt. The website is a nonprofit. The website is a project of the nonprofit Restoration of America and built by top conservative researchers, including Hayden Ludwig. Now the families, this is a quote, now the families suffering from the unprecedented Bidenvasion crimes waves have access to the states, have access to the facts the left-wing media won't report on, so they can take action where the radical left won't. See, here's the thing about the conservatives versus Democrats. Conservatives typically report everything. They're not afraid to say it how it is. They're not going to hide something. They're not going to say, oh, well, we're not going to mention something because it goes against our special interest. Like, even most conservatives were against the whole January 6th stuff. For the most part. Like, when the January 6th rioters were, like, messing with people and punching people and harassing, breaking things, yeah, we were against that. We were like, no, yeah, don't do that. Those guys are the bad guys. We're not going to, like, hide from that and not call it what it is. But with the Democratic media, they're always the ones, like, trying to hide it. They're trying to hide it to stick with their agenda. The Republican Party doesn't really have an agenda. We just want what's better for the country. We just want the country to be better. In Alabama, a case of sodomy. In Alabama, a case of sodomy and a case of murder. In Arizona, an illegal with a previous conviction for child sex abuse was arrested, as was and a convicted sex offender who was previously removed as an illegal immigrant but came back. In California, a Colombian national with convictions for homicide and trafficking of firearms was discovered, as was an illegal rape dungeon on wheels. So there's a Colombian national who was discovered. We got a Colorado, illegal was arrested for attempting to defraud the elderly. So that's great. And it just goes on and on and on and on. So this is a good thing to have. This is a good tool to have so we know what's going on. Ludwig, one of the site's researchers, said the aim is to uncover the horrifying truth of the immigration crisis. Our team is doing the gritty investigative journalism American press supposed to do, but won't, to uncover the horrifying truth about these crimes in the first of its kind repository. So that's what Ludwig said. But it's incredibly important that there is a tool we can all use to see how close the Bidenvasion policy failure has gotten to our own very own backyards. So this is a great website. I want you guys to utilize this. I'm going to report this because I want you guys to be able to utilize this. I want you guys to be aware of this. I'm going to link it in the description so you're not getting screwed over, so you know which website it is, which website it's not. But you can just look it up yourself as well. It's just illegalaliencrimes.com. It's not that hard. Literally those three words, illegalaliens.com, crimes.com, illegalaliencrimes.com. And you can see the database map yourself. You can see if there are illegal immigrants in your area committing crimes. So you can protect your home, protect your children, and stuff like that. So this is an interesting story I saw today, or yesterday I saw this. So Ted Cruz said that China is buying farmland near U.S. bases to set up drones for surveillance. Now, you know when Ted Cruz gets his hands on something, it's going to be good, dude. Man, Ted Cruz is starting to become one of my favorite political figures in the modern times. I didn't really care for him at first in the 2016 election, but he started to become one of my favorites. I really like Ted Cruz. Could you imagine Ted Cruz being president, man? That would be crazy. Anyway, moving on. So Ted Cruz said this week that the Chinese are buying up farmland near military bases so that they can have launch areas for drones to spy on bases. So who remembers that spy balloon last year? Or was it last year or was it 2 years ago? I don't remember. I do too much. I think it was last year. I specifically remember it being last year. So yeah. Yeah, it was March of last year. So yeah. So basically, now China is doing this on a larger scale. They're going to do it on our own soil as well. So not only are they invading our colleges, but they're also invading our own land and spying on our military bases. That's just great. Great. Good job. Ted Cruz made the remarks during his most recent episode of his Verdict podcast with co-host Ben Ferguson. You guys can check that out if you'd like. You can check out his full podcast if you want to see more on this. And he said that there are multiple Chinese spy balloons, and the Biden administration don't bother to tell anyone about them. Cruz said, until finally some ranchers in Montana spotted this one, and they got outed on the internet. Were it not for that, we wouldn't even know about this one. They kept it a secret that the Chinese had been sending spy balloons over U.S. airspace, over the U.S. military bases. They are engaged in active espionage against us. So that's what he said on his podcast. The Chinese are buying up land and claiming they're buying it up for farming and ranching, but it allowed them to set up a reconnaissance sites. Yeah, I said that right. That allowed them to install tracking technology, to use radar, to use infrared scanning, and to use the bases, and from there to try to fly drones over the bases to engage surveillance. He later added, and I gotta say, it is insane that we are allowing the Chinese to do this. This should be illegal. We should not allow the Chinese communists to buy land anywhere near our bases. I don't think we should allow the Chinese to buy land at all in America. The Chinese communists, from China at least. We should not allow them to buy land at all. I think we should have a travel ban. Similar to how Trump had the Islamic travel ban, the Muslim travel ban. Similar to that, but for Chinese people. Part of the government. The government agencies. Military type people. But we don't care that much because we just don't. We just don't care enough to do that. He said that the Democrats have resisted countering China's buying up of land around U.S. military bases because today the Democrat Party is essentially pro-China. They always have been pro-China, by the way. Cruz said that partly major stakeholders, big businesses, big tech, big Hollywood, and big universities, that's what I was talking about earlier, are all in bed with China. That's what he said on his podcast. You can check it out. Okay, like I said, it is called The Verdict. And knowing Ted Cruz is probably a good podcast. I'm going to check it out. I didn't even know he had a podcast, so that's neat. But yes, the Democratic Party has been in cahoots with China for a very long time. They've been big fans of China for a very long time. That's just their thing. They really like the Chinese government for whatever reason. When Richard Nixon made that deal with China in the 70s, it was a good deal at first. It was a really good deal. And then everyone blames Nixon for what happened later, but that's because weak Democrats screwed that all up. Weak, wimpy Democrats are the one that screwed that up for everybody. Because at first we did have a good trading system with them, and we had a balance there. And then China, or the Democrats, decided to screw that all up. So this is super neat. And I haven't seen a single mainstream news organization pick this up. This is all I'm seeing on this. By the way, the debates are tomorrow night, so stay tuned. Or tune into those. You're going to want to see those. Because that's going to be interesting. I might live stream it. I'm not completely sure, though. Alright, now moving on to the last thing of the day. So, the far-left Democrat Jamal Bowman loses primary after becoming a full-scale anti-Semite. So, remember last weekend, Jamal Brown had this Rumble at the Bronx. He was at the Rumble at the Bronx, where Bernie Sanders, who flies on private jets and claims that he's a socialist and thinks that nobody should make less than $15 an hour, while also paying his employees less than $15 an hour. Just terrible. And then AOC, who's basically a child. She's the Taylor Swift of the Democratic Party. They're all there. And, and Jamal Bowman, when he was there, was rapping to a song about blacks killing each other. So that's usually a good look for the Democratic Party, is when you have representatives rapping to songs about blacks killing blacks while it's going on in your own cities. So the far left representative Jamal Bowman lost the primary race against the moderate Westchester County executive George Latimer. On Tuesday, after the party pushed to oust him following his move to become a radical anti-Semite. With just over half of the votes counted, the Associated Press called the race for Latimer, saying that he was up 55 to 45%, which is a big gap. That's a pretty big gap. Bowen, who was charged late last year with pulling a fire alarm in Congress, became the first member of the Squad, a far-left lawmaker, a group of far-left lawmakers that include Representative AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, and more, to be voted out of Congress. So that's already a good sign. He was voted out of Congress. You know, Congress, the Democratic part, like the Senate is mostly Republican, but the Congress is mostly Democrat. And Bowman got voted out. So that's already a bad sign. Backlash against Bowman was so intense that the primary race became the most expensive House primary in U.S. history, with approximately $25 million spent in advertising, according to the Wall Street Journal. Bowen denied many of his atrocities that took place during the October 7th massacre, falsely claiming reports of mass rape and babies being beheaded was Israeli propaganda, which it's not. That's a real thing that was actually documented, but just doesn't care. He also refused to condemn Hamas terrorist attacks because he disagreed with calling the attack unprovoked. Okay? When you attack, see, because here's the thing. According to Bowman, when you attack a Jewish nation on a Jewish holiday and kill a bunch of civilians, kidnap and hold hostages, and murder and rape a bunch of babies and women, that's completely justified. That's completely justified because, you know, because Jews, according to Bowman, because they are Jews, it's okay to murder them. And it's ironic because at the speech, at the Rumble in the Bronx, there's a ton of Palestinian protesters disagreeing with Bowman, protesting what he was saying, which is even funnier to me. So the Daily Wire editor, Ben Shapiro, explained on Twitter to show this week Bowman's embrace of anti-Semitism, saying that he had become a full-scale anti-Semite. And there's a clip of Ben Shapiro. We're not going to watch it live on the show, but it's on Twitter. But yeah, Bowman, not surprisingly, lost the election because he's completely stupid. Okay, when you have a track record as bad as Bowman, and when you do things as stupid and as bad as Bowman, the American people are typically not going to vote for you. When you're rapping about shooting black people and saying that we need a ceasefire and saying that October 7th was completely justified because the attack was actually provoked for some reason, even though Palestine and Israel have been at peace for the last, 8 years? There's peace there for a long time, and now all of a sudden it is a provoked attack. And what's his reasoning for calling this a provoked attack? What's his he doesn't have a reasoning, because there's no way you could possibly justify this. Okay? The Hamas are a bunch of savages. Majority of the Palestinian people are savages. And they just attack people because they're just savage people. That's just how they are. They literally celebrated 9/11. When the Twin Towers got struck on September 11, 2001, they celebrated in the streets with like candy and parades and stuff like that. Okay, these are not good people. They're not. Okay, you can make the argument that like, oh, the civilians are fine though, but I would even disagree with that because I've seen photos and video footage of the civilians of Palestine helping Hamas bomb Israel. Hamas has been working in cahoots with the civilian population. I'm not saying all of them, but with majority of the civilian population. Majority of the civilians in Palestine actually support October 7th. They think October 7th was a good thing. Okay, Palestine is no different than Nazi Germany for the most. Like, if you really think about it. Okay, like Nazi Germany back in World War II, you had a group of people who followed what the government was doing. The government wanted to do something. The people followed, even though it wasn't morally, even though it was a morally absent decision, a morally unjustifiable decision to make. And here we have people, Palestinian people, doing the same exact thing as the Nazis did in World War II. Okay? Now, the best option for the Palestinian-Israeli war is to vote for Trump, get him back in office, and then to have peace again. Because that's something that Trump did. That's what Trump had originally. He had peace in the Middle East. He had a bunch of peace accords. And he moved the Golan Heights back over. And he actually fulfilled biblical prophecy and during his presidency, which is just absolutely crazy. That's the best option. But for now, to sit here and act like Palestine is somehow the victim when they started this war is just a little ridiculous. It's not even a little ridiculous. It's just a lot ridiculous. It's very ridiculous. I would argue it's outright stupid to act like Palestine are somehow being the victims here. Palestine is not the victim here. Because majority of them were going along with it. Okay, calling Palestinian people victims in this war would be like calling the Nazis victims in World War II. It's about as stupid, if not more stupid. But we're not gonna go there. What I find interesting about this whole conflict is this conflict has sparked up this new idea that Hitler was right. Many people on Twitter are like talking about how Hitler was right, the Holocaust never happened. There are Palestinian protesters wishing that Hitler was still alive today. So when you got that going for you, that's when you know that you're probably on the wrong side of history, when you're agreeing with the Nazis. And it's funny, for the last I don't know, decade, they've been calling the Republican Party a bunch of Nazis because we agree with common sense things. We make common sense claims. But now we have actual Nazis saying that Jews should be murdered on a large scale. And for some reason, when we call them Nazis, we're taking it too far. It's actually interesting that there's so many Holocaust denial now after this. I've never seen so much Holocaust denial since before the starting of this war. I've never seen so many people denying the Holocaust. So I might actually buy some of the Holocaust denial books and read them and I'm going to debunk them on a video. I think that'd be kind of neat. I had a series on my channel a while ago called Debunked. And, you know, I'm going to... Actually, I made a video recently on that, like a month ago. But I'm gonna read it. And I'm going to debunk the different claims made. Because it's honestly stupid. Alright, and this is going to be the end of my show, guys. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, give me your thoughts down below. Give it a like, comment, subscribe for more. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.